I've decided to do a 2-video series for advice that I would give to young men and young women. This is something that I didn't have a lot of people from my generation or even older generations never had, because for many years sex was not discussed, it was something taboo. There was no book to read unless you were super lucky to have somebody pass you a book or something, but those didn't pass along that easily. So this is my intention, to bring to young people, but not just, a few aspects that they want to at least look at in order to get better at sexuality. And when I say better, I don't mean in the physical sense. None of these things are actually about physical skills, because in fact, the first thing or the first key secret to being a good lover is how you hold space, how you relate to your partner and to the situations, and how you are encouraging your partners to relax and to feel okay to tell you whatever happens with them. So this is where the advice is going to go, both for young men and for young women. I encourage you to check out both of them. And at the end, I will also have a resource for you that you may want to check out as well. You will find under the video that there are timestamps with every advice that I give for each of the videos. Check those out and see if there is one thing that particularly jumps in your attention, or if you just want to go through all of them. So that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this series. Number 1, you're not missing out anything. The way that most women mess up when they're young and they carry on something that is not constructive on the long run is because they actually accept early on to have sex when in fact they don't really want to. For many reasons, because other people are having sex, because it's time that they did this, because other men will not consider them attractive if they don't. So there is a fear of missing out here, which is not really true. Most times you're not missing out. If you don't really have the hots for somebody, if you wouldn't really have sex with that person, or let me put it to you in a different way. If you're not crazy about the idea of having sex with somebody, then chances are it's not going to go so great. It does matter the way you are into that person, or the level you are into that person does matter. Maybe there are other things that you can do which are much more beneficial for you. And we're going to stick in the realm of sexuality. Maybe there are some courses that you can go to. Maybe there are some books that you can read. Maybe there are other things that you can do instead of having sex when you don't really want to, or with a person that you don't really feel as comfortable. Number 2, protection and safety. Yeah, as women, it doesn't matter at what age, this is a topic that is always present for us because our anatomy is a little different. And if we get something, aside from pregnancy, if we get something, it takes much longer to heal. So for women, this is a much bigger challenge to ensure their safety, and that's why safety is actually one of the things that is important to have in order to enjoy sex for women. So if a man, young man, that you want to have sex with doesn't want to use a condom, or if you ask him to get tested for something, maybe you're afraid, maybe there are rumors in your social circle that there are things that, diseases that are running around. And if you ask somebody to take a test with you, and they don't want to, it's absolutely okay to say pass. I mean it. If you can muster up that courage to really say, okay, but this is a turnoff. I don't want to risk the chance of getting a disease. The way I say it is, many men can be carriers. Some diseases cannot necessarily manifest for them, but as women have a different anatomy and we're much more vulnerable, that's the case with a lot of people. We can get diseases and we know that we got them after we had sex with somebody, but they may have sex with a lot of people, not all men, but a lot of men, and they don't really realize that there is something wrong until one of their partners has a problem. And one thing to consider here is that if the guy that you have in front of you doesn't want to use a condom or get a test, if there was a sister, a friend, a mother, a woman that is important to them and she was in the same situation, do you know what advice they would give her? Ditch the guy. Get out of there. Don't do it. But they wouldn't tell you that. This is true. So it's okay to take care of yourself. Number 3, negative comments. If a partner, potential or actual partner, ever tells you something bad about your body, so it smells funny, it looks funny, it is not so great, any negative comment, even as a joke, it's absolutely fine to stand up for yourself and say, hey, this is my body. I love my body. And if you don't like it, you don't have to spend time with me. If this is somebody that you like, I can imagine how hard it is to say that. But let me tell you the worst thing that can happen. You like this guy, you're in love with this guy, and he's not really careful, and he says something that offends you, and you let it slide because you like the guy. On the long run, this is going to bite you, and whenever you meet somebody in the future, chances are you're gonna meet somebody in the future, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a reality, a fact of life. You're just starting out. They are just starting out. So if you leave something like this unresolved, whenever somebody else comes from the future, because nobody ever told him that it's ugly, it may hit you much harder, it may hurt you much harder because you had already a seed planted there, a negative seed. So if you ever feel that it hurts to hear a comment about your body from him, say it. I love my body. That's not a nice thing to say. If you don't like me, that's fine. Please don't say that thing about me though. And remind them that you would not say anything bad about them because you actually like them. And you realize that nobody's perfect. And if you say this in a very loving way, first of all towards yourself and then towards them, you're planting a different seed in them, but also in you. So yeah, that's one thing that a lot of us are never told. When you like the guy, you're much more vulnerable. And when the guy you like says something shitty, it's okay to stand up and say, I love my body. If you don't like it, I love it. Number 4, beautiful experiences. If you're having beautiful experiences in your intimacy, the one thing that I will advise you here, just like I advised young men, and I encourage you to watch the other video from this series, is to be discreet and not brag about it. And the way we do it is different. Guys are actually bragging about it, whereas girls, they're so excited that they're going through something so beautiful that they want to share with their friends. The effects of these attitudes are negative in both cases, so either for men or for women. For men, it doesn't give a good atmosphere and a good vibe to the women that he's engaging with, or they are engaging with. In your case, it can do something else. First of all, if the guy that you're intimate with or interested in hears about it, he may not like it. Maybe he is by nature discreet, and hearing stuff about him, actual stuff about him getting out, because let me tell you, girls talk as much as guys talk. Everybody talks. This isn't about men, women. Everybody talks these things. So letting these things slide is, yeah, not great. Secondly, because there's another thing that can happen, if you keep speaking so beautifully about a guy with your girlfriends, do you know what that does? It gets them thinking. Guys that have really positive feedback from women, especially at a younger age, are really rare. Most guys are careless and they're clumsy, or they're arrogant, or they don't really care. They don't know that they can care, by the way. So one that does care and one that does these beautiful things is going to be super appreciated by everybody. And you're risking to turn your friends your super close friends that you want to share everything with into potential competition. Don't do that. Don't sabotage your friendship and neither your relationship. Be smart about it. Discretion is much wiser. If you really want to share something, like you feel that you need to share, seek somebody else aside from the people in your social circle. An older woman, ideally. She's not going to be interested in somebody your age, and she's not going to tell anybody because she's already mastered the art of discretion. So go with that. Number 5, self-esteem. Whenever you're attracted to somebody, or if this is the first guy that you're attracted to and you also want to have sex with him, it does pay off to invest in your sexual esteem and your self-esteem, but your sexual esteem as well. And that can mean a lot of things. First thing to do is actually get some external guidance, ideally from an older person, and having an older woman around you to guide you a little bit, to tell you a little bit about what can happen between the two of you as a dynamic, an interaction, what effects certain words have, how you can offend without wanting the other person, or how to react when somebody accidentally offends you or hurts you. Those are things that only a much more mature woman can teach you that. That actually, it's a good advice for young men as well, and they are also encouraged to seek counsel from older people. People from our age range they don't have their self-esteem either. They're just starting out. They're fresh on the journey. And it's natural that they too need learning. So these people it's fun to talk with, it's fun to share some things, though check out the previous advice. Don't really share everything. But people that can really help you are much older people. And your sexual esteem and your self-esteem and sexuality matter. And you can build them, first of all, with the help of somebody. Secondly, with getting super familiar with your body. Yeah, this is gonna sound like, okay, so she's inviting us to masturbate. That too, but not just that. I'm inviting you to really look at your body in your mirror, naked, check it out, get friends with it, become friends with it, because this is your body and it's gonna accompany you till the very last minute. Respect it, touch it, understand how it functions. There's absolutely no shame in that. And a woman that loves herself, that is okay with exploring herself, that is okay with uttering respectful and loving words to herself, alone or with somebody else. If somebody laughs, they laugh at themselves, by the way. It's super attractive to have this quality developed, so I encourage you to do this. If you're watching this video, yeah, there is going to be a resource at the end of it that may help as well. So do that, develop yourself, develop your sexual esteem, because it pays off for yourself and for your lovers. Number 6, get support. If anything unpleasant or even bad has happened to you, remember that it actually happens to a lot of other women, and unfortunately this is not uncommon. That happens for many reasons. The first one is that there's a lot of ignorance around sexuality still, and everything that we see in the media, entertainment business, commercials and other gossip magazines is not really helpful in sexuality. So there's a lot of ignorance. Although we talk a lot about sex, we're still ignorant about what it truly means to be intimate with somebody. So if something bad happens to you, unpleasant, painful, even worse, traumatizing, it's absolutely okay to go seek help. If you don't feel that your parents are going to understand you, or you fear the consequences, it's okay to seek at clinics, a counselor, support for that. It's okay to Google online, okay, counseling for teens. Do that, search for help. And if you're afraid that word may come out in your social circle, okay, you don't have to go in your social circle. There are some counselors that offer support online through phone calls, through Skype sessions. So if you're in a place where this is not possible, or it's a small community and you fear that the word may come out no matter what, even if there are people that can help you there, you can still seek advice with people from different cities, different countries sometimes. If you're speaking English, you can address a whole lot more people than just the ones in your country. So get advice. Don't let things unresolved, because they grow and they affect negatively your sexual life. And why live in sexual frustration, sexual fear, sexual repression? Why do that? No way. You can enjoy your sexuality and you can remove any negative thing that happened, from pregnancy to trauma to disease, illness. It can be solved, especially if it's addressed earlier on. So don't let it get more severe. And once you get cured, treated better, you can decide if you want to approach the person that you had this negative episode with and see what you want to do. Or if you don't feel strong enough, you don't have to approach them. You can just go on and live your life better. And if you know somebody around you that you feel, maybe they are ashamed and they don't say what's going on, but you can sense their attitude changed, their body posture changed, they're much more gloomy, they're much more fearful, they're much more isolated. Hey, you can encourage them to get help. You can offer to help them. You don't have to ask the details, but if you feel that somebody around you, somebody you care for, is not okay, man, somebody that shows support, that's super valuable and super rare, especially when we're young. Number 7, breakups. You're not gonna like this, but especially if you're starting out, you're probably not gonna live, like very few people live till the end of their life with the person that they began their sexual experience with. And that's okay. We don't all have to be monogamous. In the classical sense, we have one partner and it's for life. It's totally fine. But learning to break up with somebody, so let's put another word here. Learning to continue our journeys in different directions, because that all of a sudden brings a new perspective, is a beautiful thing. It can be an art sometimes, and it can leave both people actually moving on with beautiful feelings, moving on in a much lighter way, and moving on with loving feelings, by the way, for themselves, for the other person, and for the people that they're gonna encounter. And passing on this muscle of breaking up with beauty is, I think, very valuable. And it can be applied not just in your sexuality. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna focus on this, because here is where most painful experiences come about, and people tend to be more fearful, upset, aggressive sometimes, defensive a lot of the times. So they leave a lot of negative residual emotions there. So, but you can apply this in other areas, in other types of relationships, if possible. If it's not possible, okay, at least you try. You do your best. And if you have no idea how to break up with beauty, then let me give you just the simplest form. When you feel that it's over, you just explain and tell and share and open up to the person next to you and tell them exactly how you feel. You care deeply about them, you enjoyed the journey that you've had so far, and you grew a lot, and you're super grateful for that, and you need to carry on in a different direction. And if you think about ever offering to be friends, yeah, I could make a video just about that. I don't think that's possible. At least not in the beginning stages, if at least one of the people is still emotionally invested and they want to be in the relationship. I think that is officially called not completely over, and any form of friendship or connection is going to give them hope and is going to lead them on in a direction that they don't want to go. So if you're positively not 100% over both of you. I would not encourage, like, breaking up with beauty sometimes means that you're cutting everything so that you don't bring more pain to this person on the long run. And last but not least, guidance. This is something that is worth doing no matter what you are, man or woman, if you're just starting out. Seeking guidance from older people, women in this case, is extremely strategic, and in case of women is actually helpful as well. Women's sexuality tends to be a little more complicated. Femininity tends to be a little more complicated. And it's also loaded with a lot of definitions, expectations, judgments, and navigating through all of those is not always easy. So having an older woman helping you understand what makes a good lover as a man, what makes a good lover as a woman, how you can develop and get in contact with your femininity even better, and with your feminine sexuality. The entire plethora of sexual expression, because most people, when they think of sex, they just think of penetration. There is more to expressing sexually than just the penetrative act. Yeah, that's a beautiful one. That's, for most people, at least heterosexuals, that's the beauty of it. But what do you do if you're not heterosexual? What do you do if for whatever reason you can't have penetration? Those are things that can happen along everybody's path. So understanding a little bit more about sexuality, you can do that with the help of an older person. So I encourage you to get guidance. So this is it, my dear. I hope that you find this as useful as possible. And remember to check out the link under the video. There is a training that I have, and I consider it to be extremely useful for both men and women, because it, at least as far as I've explored, searched, and trained so far, I've tried to bring everything that I could from all the trainings that I went to into just one place. It's accessible, it's somewhere around $10. You have access for life. So if you're just barely starting and you're really short on everything, inspiration, support, money, time sometimes to document and to explore, this is one place that you may find a resourceful start. So I hope that helps. I hope this video helps. I wish you a beautiful exploration. I wish you a satisfactory one, fulfilling one, orgasmic one. And I hope that you and the people around you are enjoying sexuality as they should. So that's it from me. I'll see you in other series. I hope this really helps.